is leaking. Everybody knows the captain lied. Everybody got this broken feeling, like their father or their dog just died. Everybody talking to their pockets. Everybody wants.
And welcome back to the Grassroots Connection, where we provide the information you need to make an informed decision. Today we have a very special guest from the Louisiana area, and they would like to remain anonymous. We'll just call this guest Jay. Her and her husband were actually working for BP when they were sprayed with Corexit while sleeping on their vessel in the middle of a job. And so they've become ill, and obviously, we know that the government is saying they're not spraying this stuff, but they are. And so what we're doing is kind of documenting for this our special guest her story. And also, the fact is that the media is in a blackout mode in their area around the Gulf. They're simply not letting a lot of information out. And sometimes it's beneficial to go outside of your region or state and find media that will tell your story, or at least let your story be heard. And that's all we're trying to do here, is give these people a voice. And they're asking for your prayers. They're asking for your assistance in prodding your local legislators into bringing pressure on their legislators, who apparently have been bought off by big oil, BP. All right, so we have our guest. Let's get her back up, and I just wanted you to remember where we are. Hello? Are you still there?
Sir.
Good.
Yes, I am.
Good. We have some questions in the chat room, and I'm going to go ahead and ask them. They'd like to know, Jay, exactly where in the Gulf you live.
We live about 34 miles north of Grand Isle in Lafourche Parish.
Okay, so you're pretty close to Grand Isles. And,
We are.
And let me see if I can find the next one here. Okay, let's see. Then I will know how to ask the next question. Okay. Just scrolling through trying to find a good question here. Jay says, thank you. That was me. Andre, other than the question above, how is it that Alex Jones is not covering this disaster with what all he addresses?
Right, well, we don't know why BP's not covering it. We're asking the same thing. Any claim, any illness, they won't even take calls. Every number that we've ever obtained has been by word of mouth from other fishermen. BP's not giving any information out. They're directing any and all claims to our own, efforts.
Yes.
We have to. They're sending us to a facilitator to cover any and all claims, but we cannot get any approvals for any testing done, any medical assistance. This is beyond the wages now. We just want medical help.
Absolutely, and it's their responsibility. It really is.
And if they don't clean up the Gulf and the beaches properly, we are never going to be rid of this.
Absolutely.
The dispersant that was sprayed is designed to break up the oil and disperse it. That means it's broken up smaller, and disperses everywhere, which will eventually travel to your coastline, apparently.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to endanger not just the people of Louisiana or Florida or Mississippi or the states down here. It's going to eventually get everywhere. It's like saying, okay, I'll give you the example. You put tea, you pour yourself a glass of tea, you put sugar in it, it disappears. But if you let that tea evaporate, eventually you will have that sugar at the bottom or sediment. That's the same thing they're doing with the Gulf. It's just dispersing it. It's staying in the Gulf. They're not ridding of it.
My understanding is that 80 to 90% is just under the water, so it hasn't gone anywhere.
It's under the water, and it's presently still trying to be, it's breaking up and hitting the beaches in big layers.
Absolutely. I've been watching some of Lori Williams' videos on Blood Beach, and doing some research, I'm finding that the oil is popping up everywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere, and BP has decided it's time to pull out and go home. So I don't know what in the world they are thinking.
Right. Our last day in the waters, when they were bringing all the boats in, oil was found, and they were told it was algae. People need to mind their own business and come in. And when it was publicized on the news throughout the cleanup process at the time, it was, I think, 10 days we had been picking up oil straight. In fact, it was our new cologne. We were covered head to toe just about. And they said only one barrel was picked up that BP didn't know where the oil went. You know, well, actually, they were spraying it, including on us while we slept. We dropped anchor. The oil was so thick that crabs were on top, stuck in it, trying to get out and had no place to go. It's killed all the seafood. And the next day we get up, there's no oil, and we're all coughing and sick. And what it is they sprayed the dispersant, it sunk and disappeared.
Absolutely.
Then you pick up the anchor to go en route again, and there's nothing but oil on the anchor. So we know what they've done. It's just that BP's main concern, I think, is money, which of all things they don't need to worry about. This is their negligence, and if they would put the money into the proper channels rather than paying all these people wouldn't have all these problems.
Oh, absolutely. They're paying for PR, basically, to keep it under the rug. And you asked specifically that our listeners bring pressure onto their own politicians here in the Carolinas.
Oh, yes, that would help.
Could you elaborate? Maybe they'd prefer to hear it from you than me.
If everyone can, there's got to be someone in your state or out of your state that you can encourage, as well as yourself. Contact your elected officials, your congressman, your governor, to prick ours, Louisiana's one, and Washington. What's going on here? This isn't right. We need answers. We're seeing this on the internet. We're hearing, and we don't believe it. What's going on? Maybe we can get something done. Because, we don't want anybody else to get sick like this.
Absolutely not. I agree with you.
This is not fun at all.
And what are some of the symptoms that you and your husband are suffering from now that you know that you've been obviously exposed to it?
Well, one thing, when we do lay down at night to try to rest, which we can very seldom get, our lungs fill up with fluid, and we have to get up because we can't breathe. We have headaches, terrible, terrible headaches, skin lesions, aches, fatigue to where you have to convince yourself you have to get up. It's horrendous. Nothing worse than being tired.
Right.
I'm sure there are things that are worse, but it's when you were fine, when you were perfectly fine before, and then you have all this stuff come up. I'm fixing to be a grandmother, and for my first grandchild, and I want to live to see her.
I know you do. And we're going to do everything we can to bring some pressure on these guys to make sure they take care of it.
People, we really need help. And, like I said, it's going to possibly infest your waters one day.
Oh, absolutely. We're aware of that. We know that that water is shared by the entire world.
And water, everybody needs water.
Yeah, you got to have it.
No
just like food.
We can't live without it.
Absolutely. So we're aware of that, and we're also aware that we've been lied to. And I don't think that my listeners, just based on the questions that I'm getting out of the chat room, one is Bernie Sanders is an independent in D.C. Has he contacted them? I'm sure he hasn't. I'm sure Bernie Sanders is worried about his reelection. He could care less about the people in the Gulf. And I'm just going to keep it real, folks. I'm not going to candy coat it here. These politicians have to be made to heel. They are servants. They are not the people running things. They work for us. And it is time for us to get off our butts and get into their butts. You know what I'm talking about? Put your foot squarely in their butts. Bring pressure on them to get our friends, our neighbors, our families in the Gulf taken care of here.
Actually, BP, a lot of the feedback we're getting from BP is they want their life back. Ours will never be back.
Right. I could care less about the CEO of BP and whether he gets to play golf. The guy is insane. He needs to be put in prison for, jeopardizing your life. That's the real deal. So, yeah.
And this is all premeditated. Every bit of it is premeditated.
Absolutely, and you can tell that from the cover-up. If it wasn't premeditated, you would think that they would have some integrity and some ethics. But, paying off public officials to shut up about this shows their true intent.
One day they're going to be a normal citizen again, just like everyone else without a title.
That's right.
And I pray it does not affect their loved ones.
Well, that's the really ironic and seriously moronic thing about it. The same people in the Gulf area covering it up are also exposed to the same neurotoxins. Their grandkids, their kids.
You have to ask people, I'm sure, Mr. Andre, people are skeptical. You're going to have skeptics.
Yes.
But you have to ask yourself, they have to ask one question. It's 20 years plus, the Alaska situation with the Exxon Valdez. Exxon is still there. They're still booming. They're still responsible. They're still paying bills. People over 3,000 people plus that have been sprayed with the dispersant are now deceased. Now,
that hadn't been widely reported. I'm sorry, but that hadn't been widely reported at all.
That spill was a fraction of what this 100-day ordeal has caused to our Gulf waters. And there's no way possible that they can make anyone, even a skeptic, believe that they are in the final stage and everything is hunky-dory.
You're right. I'm not there, and I don't believe them.
That's just common sense. That's just really common sense.
Absolutely. I hear your husband back there. If he wants to get on the phone, he can. I know he is a, what is it?
He's holding me up.
He's a second-generation fisherman or fifth generation?
Fifth generation.
Fifth generation. Can you imagine that, people? That
5 generations ago, his grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather at the time, purchased their oyster leases in the Gulf. And that will be no more.
So those beds are gone now, and the oysters are basically contaminated.
They're totally gone. An oyster has to open and close, and they're all oiled. That's gone.
That's gone. So, obviously BP would be liable for the cost of those lands that he's lost and his livelihood.
Right. According to BP, there's no loss. There's no problem. Everything's fine. But we see better. We know better. We've seen it. And there's nothing more, frustrating is being told that you're sitting and you're on this boat. You have no way of communication. You're watching television, a news report that you, by the grace of God, came through. And they're saying there's no oil in the Gulf, and we're neck deep in it.
Jay, would you like to hold for the last segment?
I will.
Okay, great. We're headed off into a hard break here, so I've got to put you on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with more Grassroots Connection right after this commercial break.